while we're waiting for these guys, my voice can carry. And just a question in the audience. Who's a first-time visitor here to the show? Wow, excellent. And repeat visitor? Okay, very good. And for the people that are the new folks, have you already purchased things from China before? Raise hands, yes? Okay. And have all your purchases and transactions been successful? Yes or no? And put your hand up if you had. Put your hand up if you had some problems. Okay. Very good. Well, you'll enjoy this. This gets better every year when we, as volunteers, put this on, and you'll all, whether you're new or experienced, you'll learn a lot of things about dealing with the manufacturers that want to help you downstairs.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Global Sources, I welcome you to the China Sourcing Fair Conference program. Before I introduce our guest speaker, actually you've already know him, Charles. I would like to mention a few things. Firstly, as a courtesy to our guest speaker, I would like to remind everyone to please turn off your mobile phones and other electronic devices during the presentation. Thank you. Next, we always put a high premium on your comments and the suggestions we gave you earlier and attendee feedback form. This one at the reception desk. So it will be appreciated if you can complete it and return that to us. Lastly, if time permits, we will have Q&A session where you please raise your hand to ask questions. Okay, let me just briefly introduce Charles first. Mr. Charles Kirmuss, President of Kirmuss and Associates Consultants. He will present his paper entitled Evaluating Prospective Suppliers on the Show Floor, the Do's and the Do-Nots. Please join me to welcome Mr. Kirmuss.
Thank you very much, Lily. Hello, check 1, 2. Hello? 1, 2, 3. It's okay? Okay, very good. Evaluating prospective suppliers on the show floor, do's and don'ts. I asked a couple of questions just a moments ago about the demographics of this. I started my adventure here in 2000 and, well, hello. I started my adventure in 2006 at the first Global Sources show in Shanghai. And that time I was a tenderfoot. I was looking for two-way radio equipment and batteries, and I fell in love with China. I followed the Silicon Electronics, or the Silk Electronics wagon from going from United States to Japan, Japan to Korea, Korea to Taiwan, and then following everyone over to the mainland. And I wish I had the opportunity on my first show to actually come and listen, or have a venue like this available, and listen to experts that are volunteering their time in sharing their experiences. My history is I've made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. And I'm still trying to find that golden egg somewhere. What we're going to do is, you've already probably gone down on the show floor and you've seen hundreds of manufacturers, and perhaps hundreds of manufacturers that are in your own category. Can I perhaps just, by a raise of hands, see who's buying what? Who's looking at cell phone accessories? Okay, cell phone accessories. Who's looking for tablet computers? Okay, electronics, sound systems, okay, components, wire and cable. Okay, very good. Well, we have a little mix, so that's very good. Well, you'll find out at the show very quickly that you'll stop counting after 10 the number of like manufacturers. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the steps so that identify who's a manufacturer, who's an agent distributor, and very important for you is, are you large enough? I myself, I'm a small buyer. You know, I run a family business. We're always looking for some technology products. We want the manufacturers downstairs to change them for us, make it unique for us, and then that gives us a difference in the market. But by doing that, you may or may not be large enough for a manufacturer. So you can still work with many of the exhibitors on the show floor. They're interested to help you, and you'll also be able to be helped by some others if you're not large enough, and I'll explain that in a bit. Very important, be prepared knowing what you're looking for when you're on the show floor. You have to have in your mind set what you're looking for. If you're looking for a replacement cell phone cover, you obviously know what you're already buying, perhaps from your home country, from a local distributor in your home country, or perhaps already starting to buy off the internet through some of the other commercial mechanisms like Alibaba and whatever, and now you're here trying to say, I want to go and buy direct. I don't need to go through Alibaba because of the various issues I may or may not have had. So you have to understand what you're buying. And we're going to cover a couple of points, especially for those of you that are looking for tablet computers. I'm actually doing a case study of what I had last year as a consulting project with a school software manufacturer. Very important when you're going to be making any kind of commitment is tying two things together. Purchase order to your supplier and linking the purchase order with payments and delivery. And I'll go through some of the headaches and where I got my gray hair from. And then also a couple of things of what happens if things go wrong. We have a great resource downstairs. It's the China Information Sourcing Center. We have Mike Bellamy, the founder, sitting in here. We have our associate professor, Mr. Neil Cooper here, Neil O'Connor, I should say, who's also volunteering his time and coming out with all sorts of tips for you to be successful in your sourcing adventure. That's what makes this program and this conference different than some of the other exhibitions that you've been to. You have some resources available both before going downstairs and on the show floor, and also when you're back in your home country. Okay. This is your best investment of your day. I cannot stress this. I volunteer. I have a passion for the manufacturers downstairs because I love them. I hate some of them, but I love them all because they're giving me an opportunity. So I'm trying to share with you what to watch out for. Watch how to manage your business. And yesterday, Neil and I walked down. He had a camcorder going on, and he saw me at work. And we were looking for an elusive product. Still haven't found it yet. Found a lot of copy products, but not the real manufacturer. And I thought we did last night and this morning at 7:30 in the morning, reading the literature, which I will tell you to do. You have homework to do here, not party downtown in Hong Kong. You have homework to do to be able to know if you're dealing with the right person. Anyways, this is very important for you here. And thank you very much for coming. From us as volunteers, we're very appreciative of you coming here and allowing us to talk to you rather than ourselves. So thanks again. Okay. So, are you too big or are you too small to buy products? Well, when I came here first, I was a small buyer. I never bought anything from China. I had products made in Korea, made in Taiwan, and so on. And I came here saying, I have some ideas, and let's see if I can find a product that can be modified for me at low cost. And hopefully I can sell 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 of those. And for me, there's a timetable involved. I had no problem where I have a 30-day design time when I find at the show today a product. And I speak to the company manager or the technician or the engineer and say, can you make this change? Yes, we can make it. If it's a simple change, can you make it in 2 weeks? Or how long? Typically, a major change is 30 days. And then another 30 days for them to source special parts. And then 30 days after you get the first sample for the production to actually occur. So in my business, I have a 120-day cycle between coming here in April and then coming here again in October, where I have a large time period where I'm not selling anything. You may have a different situation where you're buying accessories that are going either to your retail distribution already, cell phone covers, for example. You may have items that are gifts and premiums and items for Christmas or items for Easter or items for Halloween that are time sensitive. So you do have to understand where this is a bit different if you're buying product in the United States from a distributor who already has the product in the warehouse. They've made the commitment of stocking for you. Here, there's no stock. The factory doesn't keep anything on the shelf. It's built to order, put it on a container or put it on FedEx, and away it goes and comes over to you. So, are you big enough? That's something that you do have to consider throughout this process. Okay, well, are you big enough? Factories want to get orders all the time. Repeat orders, same product, same manufacturing skills, same packaging, it's repeat. Don't make a change. They want volume. A manufacturer may ask you how much, and you're going to say, well, I want 100. No, they're not interested in your 100. They may be interested if it's 100 for a test program for you to try out the product until you determine what other changes need to be made. But they're interested in volume. So downstairs, and I'll tell you, I'll give you some hints of try to understand who's the manufacturer and who's just an agent. And working with agents is fine because they can collect orders from many other buyers, collect them all together. They interface with the factory. The factory is happy because they don't have 100 customers calling them or emailing them or Skyping them every day to find out what's going on. They're now dealing with one agent with a group of products. So there's nothing wrong in working with an agent. Everyone wants to make money though. It's business first. So don't be afraid of saying, well, I want to avoid the agent. They may actually give you a better price because they're grouping a lot of like orders together except for the packaging. Avoid this at all costs. I can't stress it. Alibaba, a lot of people use it. It has a very bad taste in my home country, in the United States, where people send money over, and yes, they have a procedure to make sure that you're happy with the product you get, but can that supplier repeat the order for you? In my business, I have to be able to sell products over a 2-3 year period of time. It's not a one-shot deal. One-shot deals are just one-shot deals. You have no investment. Manufacturer doesn't care. You're looking for a new product every month or every day or every week or every year. I focus on the long-term relationship and the long-term products. So that's why working with the manufacturers and agents here, you can get the feel whether they can provide you product over a longer period of time. Okay, so yesterday we had a great example where someone asked us, what do you want us to make? They want to be a factory. They were a research and development spy. We went in and they had products that had nothing to do with what I was looking for. And then when they said, well, what are you looking for? Well, we're looking at this. Oh, you want to come and sit down and tell us what you want us to make? We just kept on going, said thank you, 谢谢, picked up their brochures. Brochures ended up in the trash this morning at the hotel. It's very hard. If you take a look, it's very impressive. Today, printing, electronic printing, making big posters and booths, you can make a company look like $1 billion. You can make it look like Microsoft. So the booth isn't going to tell you whether they're a large company or a small company. Okay, let's start the venture. Well, first of all, I said it's very important for you already to know what your costs are. If you're now a first buyer, you're not just going to be able to say, here, I'm going to wire you money or I'm going to transfer you money over to the bank of the company, and then that's it. You have to assume a lot of things. You have to assume, first of all, freight. If you're buying already from a distributor in your home country, your product, say it's $150, well, that's your price. It's $150 plus whatever the cost is from going from your distributor's warehouse to your office. Here, you may or may not be involved with now taxes and duties, where you get a price here of the $100. They're going to charge you extra money for transportation, but also hidden, and if you've never imported before, are tariffs. And the way to look at if you have tariffs or not is, well, in my home country in the United States, we have a harmonized tax code, an import and duties code. You just type in, you know, tax code, HS code, harmonized code for jackets. And then it'll go through a whole series of numbers and categories of leather jackets, plastic jackets, cloth jackets, all sorts of jackets. And then you'll see what the duty rates are. So you're going to require that. You also will have charges, even Federal Express. I use Federal Express and I buy cables. And they're charged, I think, at 3.6%, plus then FedEx charges a handling fee of $75. So your original cost in the States, which was $100 and say $5 for shipping and handling, which is $105, is now, if it was the same cost, $105 in China, added the transport, which could be $20 a unit or $10 a unit, added the duties, and added the brokerage fee. So when you're being quoted here, you now have to take a look and find out and know ahead of time what your duty rates are, because you may or may not be making money. Maybe that distributor in your home country is already doing a good job, and they're buying already from here and they're giving you a good deal. So those are hidden costs that you have to know. The same thing is, here we go, back this one here, very important is your features for people looking at tablets that have their hands up. Well, you know, everyone talks about batteries and their battery capacity. Don't forget that you have to do a little extra homework. The battery capacity that you may have buying from a distributor in, say, England may not have the same duration of battery life as Chinese battery. They still may have 1,300 milliamps of battery power, but the usage time may be different. So you now have to add another line to your little specifications. You know, I want an Intel chip or a ROC chip. I want 32 gigs of RAM. I don't care about how many milliamp battery you have. I want it to work for 8 hours. So that's your new benchmark. So you need to create a new standard or list in your head or on paper that will remind you not to buy a product that you now have 2 hours worth of battery time. So very important. Other things are what happens when things break. Yes, sir?
Sorry, can you check the duration of the battery? Just testing results?
Yes. Yeah. What we're going to go through is
they can say, they can tell you 8 hours or 10 hours.
you have to test it yourself. So you take a DVD, you turn the volume up all the way, you let the DVD play, and then you time it. And full volume, put a pillow on it so it doesn't disturb you at your office or your house, and then see how long that battery works and compare it to what you already have. There are different types of quality batteries available. We have China cells, we have poly cells that have NiCad in them. There's a whole slew of batteries, and what you'll see here are manufacturers that are primarily manufacturing for domestic market. So they don't care whether it works 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours. Their standards are different. And they don't know our standards. So you have to go and see whether they meet what you're buying now. and the only way is then buy a sample, bring it home, buy two, see if they both work. There's a lot of extra work that needs to be done, and that's in one of the sessions tomorrow where we go through in more detail. But you take now the ownership. So there's another cost. Remember we talked about costs? Okay, forget about the duties. Forget about the extra transportation. Now you're going to be inventorying it, so you have money charges because you're now going to have to order and keep materials in stock. That one of the other is you're going to have to manage the process. You're going to now have to do testing. You're going to have to make sure that what you see on a piece of paper or see downstairs actually works in your home office or home country. Okay, so I have a handout. This will be one of the first handouts we've ever given at any of these volunteer seminars, where I'll go through a tablet scenario, since I was a consultant on a project last show, and see the little things, just like I talked about, battery power and whatever, and you can apply it to your product to make sure that what you're getting is going to meet what you already are buying. And you'll be able to work on that at the house, or sorry, at the hotel, I should say. Okay. Here's something interesting. This is in Shenzhen, which is just a little 40-minute train ride across. This is an 18-floor building of 10-foot by 10-foot or 3-meter by 3-meter shops. 18 floors of cell phone accessories. And all of these have little Alibaba sites. And who's the manufacturer? If you see downstairs the cell phone accessories or the number of tablet manufacturers, you go see this and they're like 10 buildings, all in a 2-block area. You go nuts. So you do need some sort of discipline when you use that sheet to find out what's going on. At the show floor, some of the booths are beautiful. They have brochures that are in perfect English. And they may say the right things. Yesterday we had a prime example where one lady, I'll tell her, she was the best person I've ever met since 2005. She knew how to speak to a foreigner. Zoomed right into the things that I was going to ask her. That's not the case. Many of the booths downstairs, they hire staff that are English speaking. They may disappear when you go to their factory, or they may disappear when you're back in your home country trying to do an email. They may actually be replaced. They'll have sales 7 at ABC company, and all of a sudden you'll see the English diction change. It's still sales 7 at ABC company, but you know it's not the right person anymore. My line is, who is Mr. Who? Who is who? Who am I dealing with downstairs? So here again, I always, when I walk the show floor, I know what I'm looking for. I have a list of 5 products that I'm searching for. That's my maximum. If I see something interesting that comes in, like yesterday, I'll take note of it, but I'm focused because I want to come back home and make profit. I want to be efficient in what I do. So I always go downstairs, I get their brochure, their business card, and on the brochure, I put a number, number 1. On the business card, I put a number, number 1. And on my sheet, I put a number, number 1. And the reason why I do that is many of the products you'll see downstairs, the company name may be completely different than what's on the booth name. So for me, walking down, I'll say, this is company number 1. It was tablet. Some of the Chinese names I can't pronounce, so I just link everything together. Business card number 1 from Mrs. Wu is from ABC company, that's number 1, and on my little spreadsheet that we'll be giving you out, that's your number 1. You increment it. The next company you see is number 2, number 3, number 4. So when you come back to the hotel, like I do in the morning, I read everything at 6 o'clock, I have all my number 1s and all my number 2s in a list, and then I can start determining who's who. Who's the company I want to deal with. Also, mark the booth number somewhere, either on the business card, or on the brochure, or on your sheet. I like marking it on the business card. because the business cards sometimes get off the brochure, but I still have number 1 on the brochure. So I can link the manufacturer and the booth together. So when I come back here at the show the next day to have a face-to-face meeting, I now can identify who everyone was. This morning I was looking for a company, BXD, and that's their company name. And I didn't see them yesterday. Well, here sometimes you'll see Shenzhen BXD or Fujian BXD. They have the name of the province or the city in front of them. So unless you're seasoned, you're going to say, these guys aren't at the show. What's going on? It's the first time I've missed them. So if you bumped into them first, you at least now know with a number who they were, and then with the booth number you can get back and see them. It's terrible to travel 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles, and all of a sudden you have this great brochure, the name doesn't match the show guide, and now which booth were they in? I have a pretty good memory, and I still have problems finding out the booths because it's overwhelming. So that's very important. Very important. The company name may not be the product name, and vice versa. Okay. Downstairs, when you see a booth, and the booth has earphone plugs, power adapters, batteries, and power supplies. That normally isn't indicative of a manufacturer. A manufacturer will not have a large, disparate product line. So when you see products that say, well, you know, this guy has some pens, and he has some, power supplies and AC adapters, I mean, what do they make? Could be an agent, could be a distributor. Still pick up the information. Sometimes they may have made all of the information with their name. Sometimes they just may say, we'll get you the brochure later. And when that's the case, I'll get you the brochure later. They're kind of acting as an agent saying, well, look, there's another factory near us, another town, and they're making this product. Let me see if I can sell something. So, again, some of those groups are not bad, but I always look for the like product manufacturers. It's also a tremendous expense when you see people into everything. One guy yesterday, radar detectors, car cameras, tablet computers, AM/FM stereo, navigation iPods. I said, boy, that's Sony. It wasn't Sony. It was a Chinese company just grouping a lot of products in this beautiful, beautiful booth, and it had a Lamborghini in it. My goodness. You probably saw it downstairs, the orange Lamborghini. Beautiful. Okay. Again, brochures really mean nothing. It's now when you say this is a product I like, it's now to speak to, give the card, introduce yourself, exchange the cards. You don't have anything else, just, give them your card, explain who you are, find out the sales lady, who she is, or the sales manager, and then if it's something like, I now want to talk a little more technical, do you have someone that's technical here? And then you sit down and you can go through your requirements list of what you're looking for. Here, oops, go back here. Again, I can't stress this enough. Write down that booth number on the card. Very important. Okay. We're going to bad there. Okay. Websites. What I do is I also, since I have my laptop with me, I have internet access upstairs in my hotel room. What I now do is I go through also their website. Sometimes I see the website has nothing to do with tablet computers. Okay, here, this is one website that all of a sudden there's Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and I said, what the hell does that have to do with a computer? And that was on the business card. So it's happened to me now 2-3 times. I said, I'm looking for a product. It was batteries and battery charger, and all of a sudden I got this. So something's wrong somewhere. It's maybe someone that's downstairs that's selling products for another company. You know your product. You know who your competitors are in your home marketplace. You know some of the major manufacturers that are either in Europe or in UK, Canada, North America, South America. to go to see this, that kind of really opened up my ire. I said, I'm not going to waste my time. Very, 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 very unusual. Something very important. How many of you are here to buy products and are going to put your own name on them? Okay, so you have your own brand name at your home country? Very good. What I recommend is if you're going to do that, you can get your name registered very easily. Get it registered in China so that they can't take your name and use it either for your product or some other product. The more successful you get, the bigger you get. I had someone use my Infinity trade name here in China, and if I didn't have it registered, I would have had them use my logo and compete with batteries in the European marketplace. And I was able to put a stop. Very inexpensive, just come downstairs to the China Information Sourcing Group. All us volunteers are there, and we can let you know where you can get that taken care of very efficiently. I myself, very concerned about intellectual property. I do not tell someone downstairs on the first visit, I want you to take this and then make it look into this with a special plastic. I evaluate what their skills are based on taking a product either from my competitor with me or taking a product that they have and say, oh, can you make a little change? You know what you want, like a plastic or something, just to see what their expertise is. I don't tell them until I sign a non-disclosure of what I actually want so that they're not my competitor in my research and development against me. And you can also protect your IP very inexpensively. In the States, what takes $100,000 takes $4,000 or $5,000 here. In the States, it takes 6 years to get a patent. Here, it takes a year. So, and everything's enforceable in China, by the way. Very serious here if people are going to hurt you in any way if you have a valid document in hand. The legal system here will punish people. Okay, so here again, money is dear. Some people raise their hands. How many people have sent some money over here and never got what they expected? Okay, yes sir? Yeah. Well, here, who are you sending the money to? What we always recommend is when you're walking the show floor and you finally have a short list of manufacturers that you want to deal with, go and visit them. Go and visit their factory. It's a 40-minute train ride. Most of the factories are out in Shenzhen. Don't have to speak the language. Everyone downstairs will be more than happy to pick you up at the train station or at your hotel. They'll drop you back at your hotel so someone else can pick you up. In my case, everyone drives me to my next visit. They're very accommodating, but you have to go and see those factories. You don't want to go and send money, $10,000, $5,000, 100% up front, and it ends up in a small little place. This is my little research of tablet manufacturers last October. I had my questionnaire. I knew what I wanted, what my standards were. I started to make a list of potential suppliers based on what I see down at the show floor, which ones should be rejected, and then I go and visit. And for those of you that have never visited a factory, it's not going to be a factory you see on TV that looks like it's in Tokyo, Japan, or it's automated. You're going to see a whole gambit of cleanliness. I've had noodles and shipments come in every so often when it's Chinese New Year or whatever. So some of the companies, or some are good companies, but they're not going to have the same standards that you're used to, and that's where you will have to do a little extra work to make sure that the packaging they give you is clean, the packaging can survive a shipment overseas by FedEx or UPS if it's small, or a container if it's large. Okay, this is the set. This is you guys were looking for tablets. Well, here I've done all the work for you. This is a sheet that I used last year. So basically, you'll get a copy of a blank sheet that you can then mark up. But here I have my specifications in the left column. Basically, this line will tell me what all these lines have to deal with. And then all I did is I wrote manufacturer 1, 2, 3, and 4. I fit 4 on a page, I write big. And also I didn't bother about putting the manufacturer's name, because manufacturer number 1 was number 1 on the brochure, was number 1 on the business card, and was number 1 on anything else I picked up at the booth. So I did write, though, the booth number down, and the local phone number, the cell phone number, and the contact name of the person that I was dealing with, so that I can call her during the show or whatever, and right away I don't have to go and fumble through business cards. And for anyone that's in the tablet business or computer business, you're always looking at your screen. How good is your screen? We were doing a project for schools, and Apple was the leader, and so was Samsung. So here, that's what I'm buying now. And then, okay, this guy here is a bit lower. This guy here is the same. And this guy here is a little higher, okay? Speakers, very important. I want to listen. I don't want to, have my earbuds. So the output was 2 at 1 watt. Well, there's only one guy that had the 2 at 1 watt. So this one seems to be doing well. Very important. Oh boy, do I have a story. Any of you guys go to Germany and CeBIT about a month ago? Oh, 1, 2, 3, very good. Well, about 30 Chinese tablet manufacturers were thrown out of the show. They didn't have CE. Government came in and said, no CE, you cannot be in the booth, and they got fined 3,500 euros apiece. And one of them here is the biggest tablet manufacturer, and they know me. They failed my test, by the way, and they said, oh, we don't care. This is China. We sell in China. We don't care about Europe. So that was a very surprising attitude today. But you need licenses. Very, very important when you're dealing with that. HDMI license, very important. That little cable that goes from the laptop into the little adapter that goes into your big screen. It's $1 every unit that's paid to the HDMI group. Yes, I had it. This manufacturer didn't. This one had it. This one said you have to pay $20,000 extra for the license. So this manufacturer here, number 3, was a manufacturer that either hasn't exported overseas or has been exporting, has never paid the license. And that's one thing that, remember I talked about your costs? Very hidden costs now is when you import something in your country, you're responsible. So if they didn't have the HDMI license, and you can find that, you go on the website, HDMI license group, and it'll have all the company names. And if the ABC manufacturing company out of Shenzhen isn't on there, they have no license. They can't cheat you with that. But if you have no license, in the United States, Customs and Excise will seize the shipment. You will pay the license plus the penalty. One major U.S. retailer, for Christmas last year, they scrapped 50,000 tablets at the border in Los Angeles at the port. All the containers were seized, and the distributor in the state said, we already lost our money, we've already paid, so we're not paying anything else. So all those things got punched up and in scrap metal somewhere, being sent back here to be rebuilt into more tablets. So very important. You're the importer of record. FCC, CE, SD, you know all of that stuff. Very important. Telephone accessories. Silicone is used a lot. Silicone has to be FDA approved in America by the Department of Agriculture because it's edible. So you need to have a little extra. Instead of here's my purchase order number for 5,000 model XY1 silicone tablet, rings or whatever, bumpers, you now need to check and make sure that the chemicals used are FDA approved. And then you also put that in your purchase order. Because if someone makes an inspection and they say it's not FDA approved, guess what? You're stuck with all of those things you just bought, and the guys over here have already made their money, and you're dead. So there's extra diligence that needs to be done. I work with fire departments, microphones for fire departments, radios, two-way radios for fire departments. I can't have a radio go in a building that's 140 degrees, which firefighters like me go in, and have the radio go up in smoke. You need to take a look at plastics. So those are things that you also have to put in the specifications. You don't want the speaker microphone melting when you're a fireman in a fire in a building. So there's extra things you need to add to your purchase order. And again, we have seminars on that as well. So I'm going to move along here. But this is something interesting as well. It's a good example. My standard was 32 gigs of memory. Solid state memory in a tablet. Everyone's brochure. So this is now 7 in the morning. The next day I'm looking through all the brochures. The brochure says, oh, 1632, optional. 1632, optional. 32. They didn't say anything. I learned something where optional doesn't mean optional sometimes. It means we don't have it. So I wasted 2.5 days running on the show floor until finally I found out that no one has it. So I modified my sheet. I said, okay guys, my spec is 32. I don't care what you say here. My question to you, can you give me a sample that I can hand carry home in 2 weeks with 32 gigabytes? This manufacturer said, no problem. They in fact delivered it to my hotel in Shenzhen. These people said, no, this person didn't have a clue of what I was talking about. And that, by the way, was one of the interesting ones that I said, oh, it looks pretty good. So you know your product. So by having a sheet, it's very easy. Everyone will say, yes, we can do this. Neil, we saw this, yes? Yes, we can. Well, I have 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here. They better can, otherwise my wife says, what are you coming to China again? You're going drinking out with the guys from China Information Sourcing again? Having a great time, getting a nice suit in Hong Kong? You have to make some money, Charles. So, very important. Packaging. You know, we talked about you have your own name, you want your packaging. That's something, again. Can they put a no name on there? If it's important to you, don't even have them print anything. Put a nice sticker in the States or in Europe or in South Africa or South America at your hometown. They'll give you a nice white box. This was the big key. I need 10 hours. It was a project for schools. Apple and Samsung are the leaders. And manufacturer number 1 said 6 hours, 2 said 3 hours, 3 said 6 hours, and unfortunately to say, none of these worked. None of these worked. I had 32 manufacturers. We got down to like 4, and we never got to the 10 hours. The maximum we got was 5 hours. So we made a decision where we'd have to buy power banks. We'd have to put extra power supplies outside of the tablet for school, because none of the manufacturers could meet the standards of the industry that we have in the States. Don't assume that you're going to get the same accessories that you're already buying. Sample earphones. This guy said, we don't give any earphones. We have a speaker built inside. No, we like to use a headphone. Oh, no can do. These guys, yeah, we can do it. What do you want? And we'll throw it in. So there is a little extra diligence that you need to do downstairs. Here again, export license. I have made in USA. So I don't have any export requirements. Here, you have these manufacturers. We talked about Windows licenses. Most of the manufacturers downstairs will sell you copy licenses of tablets and laptops and whatever. So that's a no-no, because now your customer is going to go and register, and Microsoft is going to come down and hit you on your head because you haven't bought OEM licenses with your tablets or whatever. So that's other things you need to take a look at. Same thing for you of looking at cell phones. Dual SIM cell phones, 3 SIM card cell phones, a lot of nice manufacturers downstairs. But I always ask the question, do you have FCC or do you have CE? Because I sell in both of those markets. One said, I have CE, but FCC can do. I said, no, FCC is not that easy, because if you fail, then it's a redesign. So I just walk to the next cell phone manufacturer. Some countries you don't need that. I mean, there's a lot of great things happening here where you don't need that. It all depends on what your standard was. Warranty, very important. When you're buying product from your distributor in your own country, they normally say 1-year warranty, right? 6-month warranty, you know, maybe an extended warranty. Here, there's no warranty. What does that mean? Well, you buy the tablet, it works, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So what we did is we started to go and say, look, why don't you do this? 4% more. Add 4% to the price. Please add 4% to the price, and then give me 4% more for spares. Such a big difference between price in my home country and here. What's 4%? It was nothing. And they saw that. The 3 people or 4 people that we nearly did a good deal with, they were very happy with that, and so was I. And with all the quality control systems and visiting the factory, I said we won't have a problem with 4% products failing. And that's something you also ask. You ask your manufacturer, how many times do these things fail? What's your failure error? And if you go and visit them, they'll show you in their quality control lab, you know, and hopefully, you know, a documentation of whether the products are good or not. Most of the time they don't, because what happens is a lot of the manufacturers outside don't have the export license. There's a little extra thing. This isn't just for Microsoft. Are they allowed to sell two-way radios out of the country? Are they registered as an accessory manufacturer of cell phones? Or are they a manufacturer of leather cases and not cell phones? Very important, because that's the only way you can get product back into the country if they have an export license for the commodity that you're buying. So it's very important. Otherwise, you can't send the stuff back. You might as well go and, you know, toss it in the garbage. Minimum orders. Again, I'm at my home area. One of your hidden costs is I can buy 3,000 sets at a time from my distributor. These guys were all nice. They say, this guy 1,000 at a time. This guy said 1,000 at a time. This guy said 10,000 at a time, not lower. You can always negotiate this by saying, well, look, let me give you some trial orders. Let's increase the price by $10, $20. Next order I'll give you 3,000 if that's okay. We can still keep it at the higher price. Is that okay? You can work a lot of these things out. But unless you have this written down, you're going to forget that, because all the brochures you're reading in the morning, after you had a beautiful supper and drink in Hong Kong, you'll forget a lot of things. So that little sheet that you'll have, you can put all these little things in. This is where my thing was. Who is the real manufacturer? Obviously, my distributor had product already on the shelf in the States. This guy can give me a sample in 3 weeks. This guy in 2 months. Wrong. And this guy here in 3 weeks. So I said, well, this one I already said was the best, but now it wasn't the best. This guy here was like running up, so I guess maybe this guy here makes sense. Ask for references. You're downstairs. We did that yesterday. Who are you selling product to? I'd like to know. And Neil was great, because, you know, they mentioned one competitor of mine that I recognized. Neil said, and they reminded me yesterday, said, well, if they don't feel comfortable doing that, well, can you maybe give me the name of someone in Australia? I don't sell in Australia. So who's your 2, 3 major customers in Australia that I can call? And they'll understand that. You just tell them, I'm not competing, I just want to say, you guys good, you know, how's everything, you know, and in theory, they should give you the name, because they want to sell product. Very important. I always ask, what's your volume? If your business starts to take off, can they produce product for you? Some of you have, again, products that you're buying that are seasonal. You know, Christmas trees, Christmas tree lights, USB speaker adapters for Christmas. I mean, people just love those gifts. You may have penalties with your suppliers if you can't deliver on time. So I always put down in my little list, what's their capacity? How much increase can they have? And also, that's one of the things you do when you do go to the factory. Go and see. If they tell you that they make 10,000 LCDs a month, you should see at least 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 LCDs on the show floor with a bunch of people working there building the product you're buying from them. If you go there and you saw, like me, 6 hours driving in Shenzhen, this is back in 2006, in roads that weren't paved, wasted a whole day, and the guy said they make 30,000 LCDs per car, and I only saw 64 on the show floor, and 2 people asleep on the production line. I said, that wasn't the manufacturer. This last trip, I went to see a tablet manufacturer, and I saw them, and they probably had 3,000-4,000 tablets, smaller shop, and I said, okay, fine. It just so happened I was next door looking at keypads, and I said, I might as well go back and just ask a question. I walked up the stairs, and that factory that I was in was gone. Gone. Empty. Gone. The floor was still green. Everything was gone. No one in the factory. And you saw where they had the little hooks where they put the name of the factory. So that was with a tablet manufacturer last October. I didn't tell you that one, Mike. That was a real surprise. Anyway, I also asked if they use subcontractors. You don't have to be able to make everything. All the plastics and all the screens and everything. I mean, we do that. I myself do that. I have my plastics made in one company and circuit boards in another, and then we manufacture the two back in the States. So I always take a look at if they are using subcontractors. I'm worried about if their business grows, if they can supply, because I have penalties with deliveries. So that's something you may or may not have that, but I do. Always visit the factory. You'll see some beautiful brochures, and they have all their certificates. You can't understand them. They're all in Chinese, but you'll see a couple that say ISO and whatever. I always ask for the ISO number and the registration number and who did the registration. And I can always go back to that registrar and find out whether in fact it's a real license or it's a bad license. And the reason why I like ISO is because ISO is a mentality. Whether you're printing or writing books or manufacturing, it's an adherence to quality and standards. Let's do some inspection before we assemble, make sure parts that came in are good. If the parts are no good, let's put them away. Let's not use them in a secondary line like we see in the camera industry. In many manufacturers, they use third-rate components that were rejected by other manufacturers. So, always good to have. And the same thing, you can find out, it's not part of this checklist, but you can find out the status of any of these companies, whether they have licenses, very easily. And again, down at the China Information Sourcing Center booth of volunteers, we can help you out, and you can find out the financial status of any of the companies you're dealing with, whether they have the right export licenses and so on. Very easy, because everything's documented in China. In the United States, we have so many private companies, you can't trust anything on there, because you can write your own Better Business Bureau review. Payment. There are 2 things in life here very important. 2 documents. First of all, it's your purchase order. Purchase order will say not just the model number from the supplier, but right down to the color of plastics if it's a cell phone case, the type of plastic being used, the type of packaging you want them to use for you. Very, very important. That is your only link. If you have tests, the battery shall last. We're playing Rambo's latest Rambo 3 DVD, 100% volume, 100% brightness. The movie will play for 15 hours on your tablet. You have to put more specifications in there, because that's your only recourse. And then, when the purchase order is done, executed by a little red chop. Little Chinese chop, either PDF'd or whatever, where they agree to manufacture per your purchase order, they accept your purchase order per your terms. You include in there your warranty items, include what happens if things go wrong, how fast they have to replace or return. You negotiate this ahead of time before you send money. And then, in the States, I get 60 days to pay. Everyone pays in 120 days. This one here, 100% wire. Ew. This one, 50 down, $50 on shipping. It's okay for a $5,000 order. What about a $100,000 order? What about a $2 million order? This one, 30% down. Some of the manufacturers are listening to the Mike School of hard knocks and payments. We've all been brutalized here, and we've been sharing this with you since 2006. 30% down when the purchase order goes to them. 40% down when they're ready to ship to you. And then 30% within 7 or 12 working days of you receiving it at your dock. I have a great radio manufacturer downstairs. They have $5,000 of mine still. 2 years later, it was a year and a half in April and October, they finally are now making the defective products, shipping the defective products back to the States because I've already sent them back. Then I have to ship by parcel post the products back to them for customs clearance, and then I get my $5,000 back. It's not as easy, you know, and they told me how to handle the paperwork, and which they did, and customs froze everything. Somehow they didn't put an export license on there, or God knows what, a very big manufacturer. So I said, where's my $5,000? And they said, the parts we were supposed to ship out last week, we'll get, and they're giving me an old model radio with the proper model number to match all the documents. Ship it to me, I turn it around, and then I get my money back. If I didn't have that, I'd have nothing. So for me, it's an accounts receivable of $5,000. It's been sitting there for 2 years, but at least I haven't lost it yet. I've lost other stuff where I did 100% up front, $10,000 gone. The cables all melted when they went into the fire service. And I didn't know about putting the temperature ratings of the plastics. Shame on me. So, also very important, an LCD is an LCD, right? No, it isn't. You're buying smartphones, you're buying tablets, you're buying speakers for USB. Who's the manufacturer of that component? Remember I said some components are very important. You're buying these beautiful USB speakers for your stereo systems and whatever. Make sure they don't change it. So sometimes you have to put on your purchase order, the processor will be from this manufacturer, the speaker will be from this manufacturer, so that they don't shortchange you on your second or third shipment. AC adapters. Many of the manufacturers downstairs will say they have a CE or UL adapter. Ask them for the number. You can go to the UL website or CSA website in Canada or the CE website in Europe, and you will see the picture, and the picture has to match that number. If the picture of what's inside doesn't match the number, then that's not an approved transformer. And if there's a fire in the house, you're responsible. I had a firefighter have a charger on the floor in his bedroom, and they called the fire department to his house. That's where I learned about this. My manufacturer here in China was making their own transformers. And I didn't know that. I was a young buyer back in 2006. Again, important things, you know, who are the processors. Some of you may have social responsibilities, very important, licensing. I saw a manufacturer downstairs today and I played the little test with the Neil test. I walked in, I said, you have Disney license? And I said, yes. I said, well, could I see it? Oh, 5 people, beautiful stuff made with Disney logo on there. I loved it. I want to buy it for my kid. Sorry, my grandson. I'm a grandfather now, 3 months. Loved it. I said, can I buy a sample? You know, that's okay for me, but not if you're in the business. You need to make sure that if there are any licenses, they're all paid for. And then, of course, when I visit the factory, I don't have to be a rocket scientist. Just say, do they inspect the parts coming in before they assemble it? If the parts are no good, what did they do? Do they use it again for another customer, or do they send it back to the manufacturer? I don't want that in my product. Do they fully test every single product? Make sure. That's an ISO system. Do you have a QC room? I went to one factory and they had a QC room in a beautiful room, empty file cabinets. I opened up the file cabinet trying to find a little serial number and who made what. Nothing. The grounding, if you work on electronics, you need a little ground so you don't zap the components. something very nice. I like going in the factory and seeing who are they selling to, whether they be my competitors or other real big companies. This company, they made tablets for Acer and Play School. This one all had blank boxes, and this one was for HP. I said, oh, okay, cool. Again, get the details about the factory. This one here, you know, the global sources, the China Information Sourcing Center can offer you that as well. So there is a little more when you're walking downstairs. And you can ask some of these questions downstairs if you cannot go and visit the factory. So, again, when you're going to all the people downstairs, look for products that you're interested in, that you have knowledge of, and you have already pre-made a little spec sheet that you can work off. Can we hand those sheets out? Can we hand out those sheets that we gave? I think we have 80 of them, so you can take that home with you or at the hotel and photocopy them. I never go and bargain for pricing when I walk. I did the show in a day and a half. Tomorrow now I go and see the people that are on my short list. So I always ask, what's a sample price and what's a volume price? What's a distribution price? And I don't bargain at this time. We have seminars and books that can go deeper into this. I do, though, show them that I am a serious buyer. Give them a little information. Most people know of me and my market, so I don't need an introduction, but I always say, you know, this is what we're buying now. Take it out of my bag, and this is what I'd like to buy. Discuss the production capabilities. Very important if you have time-sensitive things that have to be there for Christmas rush, as well as an expanded business. In the hotel room, do work. It's very nice when you have everything organized. How do all the products that you've looked at compare with each other? And then make the short list and then see everyone the next day. If you can't stay, next time do. So 40 minutes across the border. It's the best experience to be with the people that are going to be your partners, whether short-term and or long-term. Very important. If you can't and you're very worried, I mean, technical products need a little more things than just a cell phone case. But even for me, if I'm selling to mini marts and whatever cell phone cases, they'll buy over a 4-year period of time. So that's a long-term customer. So it's worth to have someone going down to the China Information Sourcing Center booth downstairs, or email me. We can get you the contact information of who can actually go and do an audit. What is it, $250, Mike, for an audit? $298. Very inexpensive. They can help you out. And again, it's very easy to perform the review of the company because it is documented here. So that's what I look like after 2 weeks visiting factories that disappear on you. But I love it. I'm still here. I'm still trying to make it happen. American Express is happy. Expect problems. If I can leave you with anything, you'd have to do a little more than just buying from your US or UK or Australian distributor. Expect problems to happen. Plan for the worst. That's why you do the little sheet. Make sure you know who you're dealing with. You know the product that they're going to be offering you. You know the product better than they do, and you can see how that product fits. Purchase orders, like I said, you don't just order model X, Y, Z, 5,000 pieces. You need to make a 1-page or 2-page purchase order. That talks about the packaging, that talks about the colors, that talks about the approval of the AC adapters and whatever. Because that's the only area of control that you have, is your purchase order. Because if you don't have a purchase order that's detailed enough, they'll say, no, you didn't say it's 5-hour battery. You know, you wanted 8 hours? Well, we gave you 5. Our brochure says 5. You know, you have to specify. Because they agreed to it by that shop. We accept your order as placed. It does require you to do more things. So the cost goes up of your time or of your staff's time. Because now you're doing a little extra quality control. Because remember I said 30% payment, after 12 days it's back at your office. So now I take every single unit, and out of 500 units, I take 20. If all 20 are 100% good, I roll the dice and I say, no more testing. If I have 1 out of the 20 that doesn't work, I test all 500. Again, very easy, just go across the border, very inexpensive. Hotels are inexpensive. Transportation, you can have a taxi for like, what, $30 a day? Geez, $30 in New York in an hour. And again, sometimes you may want to do schematic diagrams and revisions and whatever for what you're buying. Sometimes you may want to translate the purchase order into Chinese as a courtesy. Sometimes Google Translate works very well. We have Chai-Bridge Law downstairs. They can translate your purchase order in Chinese. Again, it depends on the dollar value and how much you have at risk when you buy something. Those are all things that we've added to the program over the years. Mike, you said it. If you can't write it down and scientifically confirm it, you can't expect it to be realized. So, again, you've made that infamous deal. The purchase order, the test sample, pre-production samples, you need to do those tests. You don't just say, fine, here's your sample is great, send me the 5,000. No, I ask them, sample was great, send me 10 out of the 5,000 and then I'll release. And you stagger your payments in your purchase order. And hopefully they can, if this is what you ordered, hopefully they can make it again and repeat it successfully. Things will happen, product's late, product's not the same what you ordered. The product is not FG, I don't know what the NFG means, but anyways, you always go back to your purchase order if you have a problem with your product. 30, 40, 30 payments, tie it in. You keep the 30%. They've made their parts money up with the 30. At the 40, they're already kind of making money, I'm sure. And here at the end, you keep that for 2 weeks, 2 working weeks, and test everything, and then release it. And most people now are accepting that. And if not, I go to someone that will. I'm a small business. I can't afford to lose all my money. Some other interesting things. Letters of credit work very well because the bank will release it under your inspection, but that means that you already have had to put out the $100,000 if it was a 100,000 LC. So that's already out of your pocket. So the 30, 40, 30 is 30% out, then 40% out, then 30% out. PayPal and American Express works well. Some of these companies are now taking, manufacturers are taking PayPal. And I had a situation where I got a box of rocks. I called up American Express. I said, my $15,000 charge, I'm refusing it. I got a box of rocks. And I called up PayPal and I got a box of rocks. I used a different word with PayPal. And I got my money back. So that's the first time. I don't know if anyone else has used it. We'll learn over the years of this adventure that we have with you. And again, what if your shipment is defective, lead time to fix, and how does that impact your business? And again, those licenses are very important. And never, never, never have them make your mold. Molds are cheap here. Make the mold. It's your mold. It's your IP. A $40,000 mold in the States is $1,200 here. Well worth it. Don't say we include it in price. Keep your own IP. And again, at the show, don't tell everyone that's what you want them to make. Say, can you modify this? You can evaluate what the company is. You can sign a non-disclosure in Chinese with, again, Chai-Bridge Law can help. And then you can go the next level to the real nuts and bolts. Otherwise, you'll see your product here, next show. And your competitor at your home country, too. And it's very, very inexpensive to do anything here in China to protect purchase order translations and so on. Everything's signed in China. Top secret is your mold. Don't give it to anybody. And go on the show floor and have the ride of your life. And do come back every year because we always have different things you learn in these seminars because we share that. Mike has written a book. He has now add-ons coming. We got videos coming. Great resources because you can be very successful here. I love China. I love the Chinese people. I have gray hairs. I have headaches. I've lost money. I've made some money. And I meet you guys. And you guys are all great. So we open up the floor for questions. And, if you want, you can email me or see us downstairs. What's our booth number, Mike?
7S05.
Okay, 7S05, and this book has gone down in price, right? Very good. Mike has written a book. He has a company here that makes things in hidden so no one knows where everything comes from, and he's a real expert on China, and it's a privilege to work with him. And I do want Dr. Neil O'Connor to say 2 words before. Please stand up. He's interviewed thousands of manufacturers. He's he's an associate in Singapore
Just very quick.
University.
Yeah, let me grab the mic. Not fair.
Yeah, and we did start 10 minutes late, so I do have 10 minutes for questions.
Well,
So
we want to leave time for quick
Yeah.
questions. But what Charles has talked about a lot was one of 3 circles. So if you'll have a blank sheet of paper in front of you, I'll get you to draw 3 circles. 3 interlocking circles. As big as you like, as small as
yeah,
big.
one like
Okay?
this, one
Okay.
like this, and one like this, just intersecting.
Exactly. So in the top circle is what Charles has talked about. We can put that under structuring and preparing for negotiation when you actually go and see the supplier for the first time. And in the circle on your right side, we can call that documentation. That's where we have the purchase order that Charles talked about, but also the memorandum of understanding where you actually have lawyers come in and get you to agree with the supplier on your expectations, make sure that they fit with the supplier's expectations. And the third circle is on the other side. Charles briefly mentioned the importance of measurement, and that is the QC sheet, where you would have third-party auditors come in. And you need to guide the third-party auditors to know when something fails and something is accepted. And so I've just finished interviewing 1,075 suppliers face-to-face last two and a half years, okay? And because I want to know what's going on in the field. Most of these suppliers I've interviewed are in the electronics industry, and you would expect, wow, they should be the better ones of the sample we would see in China. But they are all struggling with making the best products in the world. They're all struggling with this world-class business model. And most of us have that training to actually impart this knowledge to the suppliers. And so you can use that in your negotiations. That's the top circle. Okay, we're in the top circle now. Use that in your negotiations to help win over the supplier to say, look, we want to work with you for a long-term relationship. And if you're going to a supplier for the first time, that may be something that's premature, but you need to think about that. I remember Charles telling me the story last year where you were suggesting how they could modify the belt clip on one of the radio mics. And they said, wow, can you help us with these other products that were not being sold to Charles but to another customer? And so this is a way where we have this world-class business training. We can actually help the Chinese suppliers move up the value chain because they have that minimum cost mentality. All they care about, can they do it for a cheap price? But most of your markets, if you're selling to the developed world, it's all about other features, not the price. And you're making 60% margin. You don't mind paying the supplier an extra 10% if they can put on a feature that's about training the supplier about having this mindset. They don't have that mindset. So keep that in mind with that top circle. Everything that Charles talks about is in your top circle. Okay? This circle over here, you bring the lawyers in. You can get very cheap lawyers in China. And they just help you get that memorandum of understanding together. And if you don't do that first part, what Charles talked about, you can go straight, bring the lawyers in, and you'll get a supplier sign a document with you, but that doesn't mean that they agree, because you really don't know what's going on in the supplier's mind. So what Charles gave you today is you're actually going through all the detail to find out, can the supplier do what you need to be done? Then you bring the lawyers in, you've got the memorandum of understanding. Finally, you've got the QC sheet that guide the auditing. Because the third-party auditor, you pay them, but you have to do the right thing and tell them what do you want them to check off and to allow and to fail. I think that will be all. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is reflective of what I used. So this is what you have in your hand. It starts again, your number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. You can make as many copies as you need. You put in your manufacturer, the booth name, a couple of contact numbers here, the ISO, the power supply, the sample price, the sample delivery date, how long to modify a sample, how long to make 10 final samples, and how to make X amount of sales units, say 5,000 or 1,000. What's their FOB in China? Did they agree with your terms of payment, your warranty, how to handle defects, sample gift and shipping materials. They should send you boxes over to see how they handle shipment. Are there penalties for their late delivery? So those are the little things I put all my manufacturers and suppliers downstairs all on one sheet or several sheets. Questions? And again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys coming and listening to our volunteering.
No, thank you. It was very, very helpful. Look, one question, it's not really anything to do with anything specific. I wanted to find out, when you mentioned to protect your trade name and IP, where do we actually go? Sorry, I missed the part where you mentioned where should we go?
Come downstairs to our booth, the China Information Sourcing Center. We have a reference person of Chai-Bridge Law, Sophie, and Helen? Heidi. Right. You just send them an email, and what is a company? What was a registration of name? I can't remember how silly the amount was.
Yeah, for under a few $1,000, you get a name registered, and then if you have utility patents or IP, that starts to get up to thousands of dollars. So something that would be $100,000 in the U.S. might be $15,000 or less in China.
Yeah, I met someone that was here at my seminar last year, and he thanked me. He said he paid $250 for her to help out and make a nice purchase order in Chinese with all the little things. Just wonderful. The guy says this was wonderful. Worked out very well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hey, thank you. I was looking at how do we procure a small number, because my idea which I'm going to the market may take to fructify at a future date. So if you're looking to procure a smaller number with a different specs than what is available, how do we go about it?
Well, first of all, go and see, choose like product manufacturers down on the show floor, and then afterwards, after you've seen in all the halls, all those manufacturers that are like yours, you then go and see them the following day, and you indicate to them that right now, I'm selling this. I want something. I like your product. I'd like it to be modified. I think I can sell a lot of, but right now I can't give you more than 100 or 200 unit piece order, and you'll see whether they can say yes or no.
Do they agree to go for the smaller numbers?
I have never had anyone not accept a 100 unit order yet.
Okay.
Battery, a cable, power supplies, because number one is you let them know who you are as well. So, I give them my company history, and now after 12 years or whatever, or 10 years, God knows how long it's been, people kind of know who I am in the industry, so the credibility factor amplifies. So, no, just ask them. Yeah, there you go.
But they do accept smaller numbers. We can
I don't know what you're looking for, but in my industry, I've not had problems with 100. But maybe if it's a cell phone cover, it has to be 20,000. I don't know. I'm not your industry leader. Yeah.
Tablet per se. Anyway, thanks.
You're welcome. And you have enough to choose from, and find one that says yes. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Well, I'm up here if anyone needs a business card. If you have something that you're stuck on, you can ping me with email. And our booth number again downstairs is?
7S05.
7S05. Very good. There are a lot of people down there, from quality control to black boxes to us comedians, so there you go. Thank you again. Thanks.